It's just a birthday, she said, brushing her hair back, like it meant nothing. Don't be dramatic, Tyler. That's what my wife, Madison, told me when I asked why I wasn't invited to my own son's first birthday party. My son, Liam. My blood. My legacy. She said it like I was some distant cousin asking to tag along. I remember her mom, Cheryl, chiming in like some puppet master in a floral dress. It'll be easier this way, less tension. It's just a birthday. No, it wasn't. It was everything. I didn't scream. Didn't flip the table. I just nodded. And the next morning, I booked myself a solo trip to Colorado. Cabin in the woods, no Wi-Fi, just snow and silence. I needed to think. Or maybe I just didn't want to be in the same city when they cut that cake without me. But that's when it all started unraveling. 3 days into my trip, I woke up to 47 missed calls. My phone looked like a war zone. Missed calls from my brother Nate, my cousin Jared, even my dad, who hadn't called me in years unless someone died. My hands were shaking before I even touched the screen. Voicemails. Texts. Photos. The first one I opened was from Jared. It was a blurry shot taken from what looked like his car. Madison, outside a hotel, wearing a red dress I'd never seen before. Her hair curled the way she only did for weddings. She wasn't alone. The guy next to her? Muscle shirt, sleeve tattoos, baseball cap turned backwards. I zoomed in. He was holding Liam, my son, in front of a motel. I sat down on the wooden floor of that cabin and couldn't breathe. Not the dramatic, Hollywood kind. Real, ugly choking. Like my lungs just decided, nah, we're done. My brother's message came next. Bro, I didn't know if I should tell you, but Madison's been seeing some guy named Vince. Met him at the gym, apparently. She told people you were figuring yourself out. Said you were too emotional to be around. They had the party without you. Vince was there. He was acting like Liam's dad, man. I'm sorry. I dropped the phone. I wanted to throw up. I actually did, about 10 minutes later, right outside the cabin door into the snow. You think you'd scream or cry, but I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the frost-covered trees while the slow realization sank in like black ink into paper. My wife was F***ing someone else, and she replaced me at my son's birthday party. Asterisk asterisk. And the worst part? Nobody told me. Not until it was over. Not until the cake was eaten, the photos were posted, and the guy Vince was tucking my son into bed. What kind of man lets that happen? What kind of woman does that? I drove back. 12 hours straight. No music, no stops, nothing. Just rage and the sound of my own breathing. I didn't even call her. I didn't give her the warning. She didn't deserve that. When I got home, her car wasn't in the driveway. Liam's toys were still scattered across the porch like landmines. I walked in. The house smelled like strawberries and betrayal. She left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I didn't mean to look, but it was right there, Facebook Messenger, her most recent message still glowing on the screen. He's leaving town for a few days. We'll have the place to ourselves, winky face. That was dated the morning I left for Colorado. Attached was a shirtless photo of Vince, holding my son like some twisted trophy. That was the moment something in me just cracked. I didn't yell. I didn't call her. I printed the messages. I printed the photo. I framed them. Yes, I framed them. And I placed the frame right next to our wedding photo on the mantle. Let her see them side by side when she walked in. But I didn't stop there. I took down our wedding album, tore the pages out, one by one. Then I grabbed a marker and started scribbling notes on each picture. On the photo of us cutting the cake, the first time she lied. On the one where she kissed my cheek, practicing. On the last page, the honeymoon photo with her arms around my neck, dead eyes. Then I waited. Madison came home around 11 p.m. She walked in laughing, her phone in her hand, too busy scrolling to notice me sitting in the dark like a ghost. Hey babe, she mumbled. No eye contact. That's when she saw the photo on the mantle. Her footsteps slowed. Her phone dropped a little. And finally, she looked at me. The smile slid off her face like makeup in the rain. Tyler. I stood up. My voice was calm. Too calm. You didn't invite me to my son's first birthday. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Then tried again. It's just a birthday. She stood there, frozen like a deer in headlights, except this deer had claws, and I was done pretending I didn't see them. I stepped closer. So, is Vince the new party clown? Or did he just volunteer to replace me as Liam's dad? Her eyes darted to the printed photo in the frame. The one with Vince and Liam. Her lips parted, searching for a lie that would stick. You're overreacting, she finally said. Vince was just helping. We needed an extra hand for the party, that's all. Helping. That word sliced through me. I didn't blink. You needed help from a guy you met at the gym, who you now send half-naked photos to while I'm out of town? She crossed her arms. That fake confidence she always wore like perfume kicked in. You're acting like a child. I had to make choices, Tyler. You've been distant for months. You're always brooding, sulking, making everything about you. I laughed. I actually laughed. So, you invited a stranger to my son's birthday instead of his father because I sulk? She scoffed, walking into the kitchen like the conversation was beneath her. You're making this into some betrayal. It's not like that. You've been gone emotionally. Vince is just someone who listens. He's good with Liam. And no, we didn't do anything that night, if you must know. That night? Not ever, just that night. I followed her. Madison, if you're gonna lie, at least commit to it. She spun around, her eyes lit with that spark she always used when she wanted to manipulate me. You want honesty? Fine. I was tired. Tired of you making everything heavy. Tired of feeling alone in this marriage. Vince gave me attention, and yes, it felt good. Better than walking around this house with a man who stares at the wall more than he looks at me. So there it was. The confession, wrapped in blame. She leaned on the counter, acting like this was just another disagreement over groceries. I walked over to the laptop, still open, still glowing, clicked into the messages. I didn't need to say a word, just turned the screen toward her. Her face paled. I didn't mean for you to see that, she whispered. I let out a cold chuckle. Oh, you didn't mean for me to see my wife sending bedroom pictures to a guy while our son naps in the next room? She swallowed hard, her bravado breaking in layers. It didn't start like that. I didn't plan it. I didn't think it would go this far. But it did, I said quietly. The silence stretched between us. For a second, I thought she'd cry, apologize, say something human. But instead, she rolled her eyes and muttered, You always make yourself the victim. That did it. I stepped back. No, Madison. I'm not the victim. I'm the fool who thought loyalty meant something to you. I'm the idiot who believed that just because we had a son, we were a team. She stood there, lips tight, like I'd offended her. I walked past her, into the living room, grabbed the wedding album turned art project, and tossed it at her feet. Pages scattered like confetti. Her smile on every page now stained with ink and truth. I'm done, I said. You're being dramatic, she said again, picking up a page like she actually cared. I turned around one last time. You threw me out of my son's life for a man who's probably going to ghost you the second I leave. And you think I'm the problem? She didn't answer. Just stood there, surrounded by pieces of our fake history. I didn't pack that night. I didn't need to. My keys were already in my hand. I walked out, got into my truck, and drove until the streetlights turned into darkness. And I didn't look back. Not once. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't even the lies. It was that she never once said, I'm sorry. Not for the party. Not for Vince. Not for anything. I didn't sleep that night. I parked outside a 24-hour diner on the edge of town, sat in my truck, and just stared at nothing for hours. My mind kept replaying everything, her tone, her face, the way she brushed it all off like I was just a bitter ex who couldn't move on. I thought about Liam, about how he smiled when I made monkey noises, about how he'd grab my finger with those tiny hands like I was his whole world. And now? Now his mother had let another man hold him in my place. A stranger. I watched the sunrise through my windshield and felt nothing. Just emptiness where love used to be. By noon, I'd rented a storage unit and started hauling my things over. Clothes, guitars, my books, tools, everything that was mine. I didn't leave a note. I didn't give her the decency of a conversation. But when I came back to the house for the last round, she was there. Sitting on the couch, drinking wine at 1 in the afternoon like she was in some soap opera. You're really doing this? She asked, not looking away from the TV. You did this, I said, stacking a box. She sighed and finally looked at me. Tyler, come on. Do you think it was easy for me? Being with someone who made me feel invisible. I dropped the box hard enough to make her flinch. You know what's funny? I was invisible. At my own son's birthday party. She didn't speak. I continued. You didn't just cheat. You erased me. You planned a whole event for Liam and purposely left me out. Then let some half-naked douchebag take pictures like he was the father. That's not a mistake, Madison. That's premeditated cruelty. She sipped her wine. I didn't expect you to find out like that. You mean, you didn't expect anyone in my family to care enough to expose you? That hit her. She stiffened. I walked toward the door, But then something inside me snapped, something that had been simmering for too long. I turned around and looked her dead in the eye. Do you love him? She blinked. I don't know. That means yes, I said. She didn't deny it. Just gave me that bored, heartless shrug that had become her new language. Vince listens to me. He makes me feel wanted. You stopped doing that a long time ago. I laughed bitterly. And that's your justification for turning our son's birthday into your audition for a new dad? Her face twisted. You're twisting everything. No. I'm just finally seeing it clearly. She stood up suddenly, slamming her glass on the table. You weren't perfect either, Tyler. You sulk. You shut down. You brood like the world owes you something. Because I married someone who plays the victim while stabbing me in the back with a smile. We were yelling now. But it wasn't just anger. It was history bleeding out. Years of fake smiles and ignored red flags crashing down at once. You think I don't regret things? She snapped. You think I'm happy this happened? Yeah, I said coldly. I think you are. I think you feel free. Like you finally dropped the deadweight. She opened her mouth to reply, but I was done. I walked out with the last of my things and didn't stop until I was back at the unit, locking the door behind me. That night, I stayed at Nate's place. He didn't say much, just handed me a beer and let me be. The silence was better than any words. But sleep didn't come easy. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Liam's face. I saw Vince holding him. I saw Madison's smug expression, her cold, detached tone, and the part that kept ripping into me like a dull knife, how easily she discarded me. Not just as a husband, but as a father. The next morning, I called my lawyer. She crossed a line I couldn't forgive. She used my child as a prop in her affair. That wasn't just betrayal, that was war. And I wasn't walking away without a fight. 2 days later, the papers were ready. I didn't text her. I didn't warn her. I just showed up. Cold. Sharp. Focused. She was in the kitchen again, this time eating a salad like she was the picture of peace and wellness. She looked up, barely interested, like I was someone from the HOA asking about trash day. You're back, she said, tilting her head. I'm filing for full custody, I replied, placing the envelope on the table. You'll be served officially soon, but I thought you deserved the courtesy of seeing it first. Her face dropped. Just a little. She tried to recover fast, straightened up, gave a dry laugh. Full custody? Are you high? I stepped closer. You endangered my son. You brought a man he barely knows into his life and treated him like his father. You excluded me from major events. I have screenshots, messages, photos, witnesses. I'm not bluffing. Now she was standing. Her chair scraped hard across the floor. You're not taking him from me, Tyler. You wouldn't even know how to be a full-time parent. I smirked. Maybe not. But at least I wouldn't hand him over to a gym rat I barely know in exchange for attention. That one hit deep. She flinched, then grabbed the envelope and ripped it open like she could shred the reality it carried. Her voice trembled, but not from sadness, rage. You've always been weak. Always afraid to step up. This is you pretending to be a man. I leaned in close. No, Madison. This is me finally being one. She stared at me, and for a brief second, I saw something behind the anger, fear. Not of losing me, but of losing control. That had always been her game. She led. I followed. She dictated. I obeyed. Until now. You want to go to war over Liam? She spat. Fine. But don't act like you're some hero. You disappeared when I needed you. You locked yourself in your own head, and I got tired of knocking. You didn't knock, I snapped. You walked out. With him. She turned away, running a hand through her hair. God, I can't believe this is happening. I almost pitied her in that moment. Almost. But then I remembered the birthday party. The photos. The messages. The wine. The lies. I walked toward the door. She called after me. What are you going to tell Liam when he asks why his mom and dad hate each other? I paused, hand on the doorknob. I'll tell him the truth. That I loved someone who didn't love me back. And that I did everything I could to protect him. The door clicked shut behind me. The next week was chaos. Lawyers, documents, meetings. Nate offered to testify. Jared said he'd send the photos and videos he'd taken during the party. My mom cried when I told her. My dad didn't say a word, just patted me on the back like he approved of something I should have done a long time ago. Madison's response came quicker than expected. She filed her own motion, trying to paint me as unstable. Claimed I was emotionally distant. Said I had violent tendencies. The same woman who used to brag about how calm I was now trying to label me a threat. But I was ready. I had dates. records, screenshots. Every time she left the house at night and said she was with friends. Every time she claimed to be at yoga and ended up tagged at a bar. Every time she called me overly emotional while building a fantasy life with Vince behind my back. Vince, by the way, had already ghosted her. Nate told me he'd seen her crying in the parking lot of the same gym where they met. She yelled at someone on the phone, said something about being used. Couldn't have happened to a better person. But none of it gave me joy. Not really. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't out drinking or partying or posting passive-aggressive quotes on social media. I was exhausted, hollowed out, running on fumes and anger. All I cared about was Liam. I wanted my son to grow up safe, loved, respected, not dragged through the mess his mother created because she couldn't handle silence or loyalty. I kept one picture on my phone, just one. The night Liam was born. I was holding him, shirt off, his tiny body curled up against my chest. Madison was asleep in the hospital bed. Everything felt right. Everything felt whole. I looked at that picture every night before bed. Not because of her. Because of him. Because I needed to remember why I was fighting in the first place. Court day felt like judgment for a crime I didn't commit. I wore a navy suit, no tie, clean shave, and the tightest grip on my emotions I could manage. Madison walked in 10 minutes late, wearing a white blouse like she was going to brunch with her mother, not a custody hearing. She didn't even look at me. Sat down like I wasn't there. Her lawyer did most of the talking. Painted a neat picture of a struggling wife who tried everything to save a dying marriage. They threw around words like detached, unavailable, emotionally volatile. They used my solitude as a weapon, like being quiet in pain meant I was dangerous. My lawyer stood, calm and professional, but direct. He laid it all out. The exclusion from Liam's birthday, the photographs of Vince holding my son, the late-night messages, the gym meetups that turned into motel visits. The judge's face didn't move, but I could feel the shift in the room. I didn't watch Madison while they spoke. I didn't need to. I knew that face too well. She'd perfected the victim act. Her eyes would glisten but never drop a tear, her head tilted slightly, hands gently folded like she was the picture of misunderstood motherhood. Then they asked me to speak. I stood, palms sweating. I didn't read from notes. I didn't prepare a speech. I just spoke. I was a good husband. Maybe not a perfect one, but I showed up. I changed diapers. I warmed bottles at 3 a.m. I held my son through fevers. I was there for his first laugh. And I planned to be there for every birthday, every broken bone, every game, every heartbreak. But I wasn't invited to his first birthday. Not because I didn't want to be there, but because his mother decided I didn't deserve to be. I looked directly at Madison. She blinked. No glisten this time. She let another man step into my shoes. A stranger. A man who vanished the moment things got complicated. And now, I'm here, not to punish her, but to protect him. My son deserves consistency. He deserves a father who puts him first, not a parade of replacements who come and go based on her emotional whims. The judge nodded. That was it. No applause. No dramatic gavel slam. Just quiet acknowledgement. And then we waited. A week later, the court awarded me joint custody, with primary physical custody shifting in my favor. Madison got weekends, supervised at first. She didn't fight it. She didn't even show up to the final meeting. Her lawyer passed the judgment along like a forgotten memo. When I went to pick up Liam for the first time under the new order, Madison opened the door with smudged eyeliner and a hoodie that swallowed her frame. No sass. No venom. Just a tired woman holding a diaper bag. She handed Liam over, didn't even look at him, didn't say goodbye. And as I walked to my car, holding my son against my chest, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel like I won. I felt like I'd crawled out of a burning house with nothing but what mattered most, still breathing, still mine. That night, I tucked Liam into his crib in the apartment I just finished setting up for us. It wasn't much, a 2-bedroom walk-up, second-hand furniture, walls still bare. But it was peaceful, honest. I sat on the floor beside his crib long after he'd fallen asleep, just listening to the rhythm of his breathing. I thought about all the times I ignored the signs. The late-night texting, the sudden gym obsession, the nights she needed space. I thought love meant staying quiet, letting her figure herself out, being patient. But love isn't silence. It's not sacrificing yourself for someone who would sell you out the moment the spotlight shifts. Madison didn't just cheat on me. She dismantled trust with a scalpel, slow, deliberate cuts masked as indifference. And the worst wound she left was pretending it wasn't a betrayal at all. I stayed up that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the version of me that stayed, that swallowed everything just to keep the peace. That man is gone. He died on Liam's birthday. No, it's just me and my boy. And for the first time in years, I feel free. A few weeks passed. Liam adjusted faster than I thought he would. He started sleeping through the night again, smiled more, even giggled in the mornings when I made ridiculous pancake faces. I'd wake up early, make coffee, sit with him on the couch while we watched cartoons, and I started noticing something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Not happiness. Not yet. But silence without pain. I didn't hear much from Madison. No late-night calls. No apologetic messages. She sent the occasional cold text confirming drop-off times or asking if I'd watched his stuffed giraffe. That was it. Like she wanted to pretend the past didn't exist. Then one Friday afternoon, she showed up early. Unannounced. I had just bathed Liam, wrapped him in a towel, and was humming something soft as I dried his hair. I wasn't expecting the knock. I opened the door and there she was, looking like she hadn't slept in days, messy bun, oversized sweatshirt, sunglasses at dusk. She didn't even greet me. Just walked in. I was darting around like she was looking for something, or someone. "He's sleeping here tonight," I said calmly, setting Liam down in his playpen. "I know," she muttered, arms crossed. "I'm not here to argue." "Then what?" I asked. She hesitated, then glanced toward the hallway. "Can we talk, privately?" I nodded once, led her to the kitchen. I leaned against the counter, waited. She didn't sit. So, she started. "I was not meeting mine. Vince is gone. Like, really gone." I didn't say a word. I let the silence press on her. "He blocked me. Changed his number. I haven't heard from him in weeks. I think he's back with his ex." I folded my arms. And she looked up at me now, finally, her expression somewhere between shame and desperation. I made a mistake. I almost laughed. I almost let it out. But it caught in my throat and died there. "No," I said, voice steady. "You made 100 mistakes. You just finally ran out of excuses." She stepped closer. "Tyler, I miss what we had. I miss our family. You have to know I didn't plan for things to fall apart like this. I lost myself." I stared at her. "You didn't lose yourself, Madison. You sold yourself. Cheap." Her face twisted, wounded, like she was the one who'd been betrayed. "I wasn't happy," she snapped. "You were always so emotionally distant. I needed something real. I thought I found it in Vince, but I cut her off. And your solution was to cut me out of my own son's life? To erase me? To throw a birthday party without the father and parade some guy around as his replacement?" Her voice broke. "I didn't mean to hurt you like that. But you did. Over and over." She looked down, tears finally sliding down her cheeks. But they felt late. Performed. Like an afterthought. "Tyler, is there any chance we could fix this?" she whispered. I let that question hang in the air. I looked at her. Really looked. The same woman I'd once held on our wedding night, who I believed would be by my side through everything. And now, standing in my kitchen, she looked like a stranger trying to borrow a memory. "No," I said, not out of spite, but truth. "There's no we left to fix." She nodded slowly, swallowed hard. Before she left, she peeked at Liam, sleeping peacefully in the corner of the room. Her lip trembled. "He looks so much like you now." I didn't respond. She stepped back, grabbed the door handle, and paused. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm sorry. For all of it." I stayed silent, not because I hadn't forgiven her, but because I no longer needed anything from her. When the door closed behind her, it didn't echo. It didn't hurt. It didn't drag me under. It just ended. And finally, I could breathe again. The next morning, I woke up before Liam, just like always. Sunlight pushed through the blinds in soft strips, lighting up the quiet mess of toys scattered across the living room floor. My back ached from the couch. I still hadn't gotten used to the bed in my new place. But there was a strange comfort in the discomfort. I made coffee, not because I needed it, but because the smell reminded me that things were simple now. No fake smiles. No guessing games. No late-night phone checks, wondering where she was. Just me and my son. Liam stirred in the next room, letting out those soft baby sounds that meant he was waking up. I walked in, picked him up gently, and he clung to me like I was the only home he knew. That feeling, his little hand wrapping around my thumb, it undid me in a way I didn't expect. This kid had no idea what had happened. No idea what his mother did. No idea how close I came to disappearing from his life entirely. He just knew I was here. That was enough. Later that day, I took him to the park. Just the two of us. I pushed him in the swing while he squealed and kicked, the way only a baby who feels weightless can. Around us, parents milled about couples, families, people laughing, arguing, existing. I watched a father crouch down and tie his daughter's shoe, and I wondered if he knew how lucky he was to still have her mother beside him. Then I stopped myself. That wasn't the life I had. That wasn't the life I needed to mourn anymore. Madison had called the night before. I didn't answer. She texted later. I miss you. I miss us. I think I still love you. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't feel anger, just exhaustion. I didn't reply. I archived the message and moved on with my day. She sent another one that night. I'm scared. I don't know who I am without you. That one hit different, because it sounded real, broken, but honest. And a part of me wanted to say something to comfort her, even after everything. But I didn't, because I finally understood something. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me that tolerated everything. The man who bent so far, he nearly snapped. But that version of me was dead. The next few weeks blurred by diaper changes, daycare drop-offs, first steps. Real, honest life. The kind that doesn't leave room for betrayal or manipulation. One evening, I found a letter in my mailbox. Handwritten. No return address. I knew it was her before I opened it. It was 5 pages long. Rambling. Apologetic. She wrote about how her mom had fed her bitterness for years. How she started resenting me before I even knew there was a problem. How she hated herself for what she did but felt stuck in it. She said she still loved me, always would. And she begged for a second chance. Not for the marriage, but just to be seen again. I read every word. I didn't cry. I didn't feel sorry for her. I just folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because I wanted to remember what survival looked like on paper. That weekend, I took Liam to visit my parents. My mom wept when she saw him. My dad hugged me harder than he ever had. We ate dinner together like nothing had shattered, even though everything had. And after everyone went to bed, I sat on the porch alone, watching the stars flicker in a black sky. I thought about how love can twist into something unrecognizable. How someone you trusted with your soul can rip it apart with a smile. But I also thought about how healing doesn't look like a victory. It looks like quiet nights and baby laughter and morning coffee without dread. It looks like choosing peace over closure. It looks like walking away from the wreckage without needing to set it on fire. And most of all, it looks like holding your son in your arms and realizing you didn't lose everything. You saved what mattered most. Spring rolled in quietly. The cold air gave way to softer mornings, and Liam started saying actual words, tiny, messy, beautiful words. Dada was his favorite. He'd say it for everything. The spoon, the dog next door, the moon. But every time he looked at me and said it with that proud little smile, I felt like I was being rebuilt from the inside out. We settled into a rhythm. I'd drop him at daycare in the morning, work a full shift at the shop, then pick him up before dark. Dinner, bath, bedtime stories, repeat. It was exhausting and imperfect and completely mine. Madison's presence faded like a stain in sunlight. She still had her weekends, though she started canceling more and more often. Family emergency, migraine, last-minute work thing. At first, I thought she was trying to manipulate me. But after a while, I realized she wasn't trying anything. She was just drifting, losing grip. And part of me pitied her. But pity doesn't mean trust. It doesn't mean I forgot. And it sure as hell doesn't mean I'd ever go back. One afternoon, Nate came over to help me assemble a bookshelf in Liam's room. We drank beers, talked trash, laughed like we used to before everything got so heavy. You seem lighter, he said as he drilled in the last screw. Like, clearer. I am, I admitted. He gave me that big brother look. Took a hell of a storm to get here. I nodded. Yeah, but at least now I know who I am on the other side of it. That night, after Liam was asleep, I sat in the kitchen flipping through an old photo album. Our wedding pictures were gone. I tossed them months ago. But buried deep in the back were some early shots. Before the lies. Before the rot. There we were in New Orleans, covered in powdered sugar from those ridiculous beignets, laughing in a way that felt real. Young, stupid, and wildly in love. Or maybe just desperate for something to fill the holes we didn't know we had. I stared at those photos for a long time. Then I closed the album and packed it in a box labeled Past. Not for burning. Just for distance. I didn't need to destroy the memories. I just didn't need them living with me anymore. Weeks passed. Then one night, I got a knock on the door around 9 p.m. It was her. Madison. Hair pulled back, no makeup, eyes red. She stood there like she hadn't slept in days. I didn't say anything, just waited. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside, only because Liam was asleep and I didn't want a scene on the porch. She walked in slowly, hands tucked into her sleeves. She didn't look around, didn't comment on the place. She just stood in the middle of the room, like she wasn't sure what to do with herself. "I'm checking into a rehab center," she said finally. "For real this time." I said nothing. She nodded to herself, like she expected the silence. "It's not just about the drinking, or the guys. It's about everything. I lost myself, and I took you down with me." I crossed my arms. "Why are you telling me this?" She met my eyes, and for the first time in a long time, there was no manipulation, no performance. "Because I want you to know I'm not running anymore. I know I won't get you back. I know I ruined that. But Liam, he deserves a better version of me, not the mess I've been. And I'm going to try to be that, even if it's just from a distance." I nodded once. "Good." She blinked, surprised. Maybe she expected anger, a lecture, a guilt trip. But I had no more fuel for those things. Just truth. "You hurt me in ways I didn't think possible," I said. "You humiliated me. You made me feel invisible in my own home. But if you're really doing the work for him, not for me, then I hope you find whatever it is you lost." She looked down, tears falling silently. Before she left, she turned back once. "He's lucky to have you," she whispered. "I wasn't strong enough to love you right." I didn't answer, just closed the door after her and locked it. Then I walked down the hall, into Liam's room, and watched him sleep for a moment, his tiny chest rising and falling. A whole future in a pair of footy pajamas. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Whole. Not because she was gone, but because I was finally home. Liam turned 2 a few months later. We didn't throw anything grand, just a backyard cookout with my brother, my parents, and a few neighbors who'd become like family. Balloons, a goofy dinosaur cake, a plastic slide that nearly gave me a heart attack when Liam tried to launch himself off the top. But this time, I was there, front and center, holding his hand while he clapped for himself, lifting him up when he got tired, laughing with him, loving him, being the father he deserved. And Madison? She sent a gift by mail. A little stuffed lion and a card that said, "One day, I hope to be the mom he deserves. Until then, thank you for being everything he needs." I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I just read it, placed it gently in Liam's memory box, and moved on with my day. Because healing doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in the quiet, ordinary hours, when you're wiping jelly off a toddler's face, or reading the same book for the 5th time in a row, or sitting on the porch alone at night and realizing you're not lonely. I don't hate her anymore. That part surprised me. I thought I'd carry that anger forever. But somewhere along the line, I dropped it. Maybe because I realized she can't touch what I've built now. She tried to ruin me. Maybe she even thought she succeeded. But what she really did was set me free. Free to raise my son with love and intention. Free to sleep without checking messages at 2 a.m. Free to walk into the mirror every morning and not feel like I'm disappearing. If you're reading this, if you've been betrayed like I was, let me tell you something you need to hear. You don't need revenge. You don't need to destroy them. You just need to survive. And then, rebuild. One honest day at a time. Because healing isn't about getting back what you lost. It's about finally realizing what you never needed in the first place. And for the first time in my life, I'm whole. Not because I held on, but because I finally let go.